Welcome, welcome to another episode of the Gothic Heart. I'm so excited to have guests here today, Colby and Mikhail, who both come from a cross between, which is really cool. I was just learning about them and listening to the music. But they also do a lot more things, and I will not be able to cover it all by my own memory. We've got filmography and DJing and swordsmanship and uh, I'm not even going to go further. So I'm going to let them do a quick introduction and then I'm going to do something special for my daughter. Okay. So, guys, Mikhail, how about we start with you? Can you just give a brief intro? Hey, it's Amity, welcoming you to the Gothic Heart, where we explore how to fully embrace your Gothic and alternative self in love, life, and everything in between. Whether you're navigating the dating scene, in a relationship, or celebrating your individuality solo, this is your spot for tips, inspiration, and my own journey from a courtroom attorney to a hollow wedding host. So grab your favorite drink and let's dive in.
Sure. I'm Mikhail. I'm one of the producers for A Cross Between. I also do a lot of the video editing. I do a lot of the visual edits and visual work for us as well. And I'm the music guy. I'm the other music guy. That's
Makes
all I can
perfect
really
sense.
say. Yeah.
All right, Colby, quick intro, because you've got so much too.
Hi, my name is Colby Boothman. I am an actor, producer, and DJ from A Cross Between, and about a million other things. But we've been really excited to be able to share our music and release music and EPs and play a lot of really amazing shows, and I'm happy to be here with you today.
Yes.
Same here. Same here.
Well, thank you guys for coming. Kind of a roundabout way how we found each other too, which is really cool. I was became aware of Grimoire Academy, Grimoire Studios, and I had been talking with them because I knew our listeners would be interested. And you guys have been working with them for many, many years, and they said that you guys were the ones that would match us perfectly. So I was so excited to get to learn that or be introduced to you guys because I wouldn't have found you otherwise. Something I want to say really, really cool, quick from the beginning is Colby. You are, I don't know
Okay.
if it's called a master swordsmanship or a master swordsman. But I wanted to make sure I brought this up like right away because I think that's just so neat because on Gothic Heart all the time we talk about how, yes, we have alternative interests. Yes, society may not like this, but an alternative interest like that, and you are literally making a career or part of a career out of it, which is just incredible, right? It's not just
Look, I
something that
just
gets
go
stayed at
here.
home. What's that?
I just go here.
You
Occasionally, I
just,
twirl some sticks around, and they call
you
them
just go sit down.
lightsabers.
Um, he's being very modest because I watched some of it last night, and it is not just throwing sticks around. So, can you share how you got into that and how that even became like part of your career and what you're known for?
Yeah, so I wouldn't use the word swordmaster because that we can only really give to the one and only Nick Gillard, who's the stunt coordinator and sword choreographer of the Star Wars prequels. And I got started doing, maybe I'll go way, way, way back. So when I was about 11 years old, I started fencing in Rhode Island, and this was at the Rhode Island Fencing Academy and Club. Um, and from a very young age, I was competing in junior Olympics and national championships, and uh, it you name it, I flew there and did that. So swords was nothing new to me, but fast forward into graduating high school, getting involved in the film industry and the stunt community, I met Nick Gillard. He was doing a class that was really focused on lightsaber choreography. And, since I was a child, lightsabers has been my life. If you ask me, like, what I wanted to be when I grew up, in the second grade, I would have said, I want to be a Jedi. And then I would have been promptly scolded by my teachers because that's clearly not a profession that anybody could ever go into. And then I proved all of them wrong. Yeah. So I was very fortunate to meet Nick Gillard, who is, there are very few sword choreographers in the world and in the film industry that have ever reached the caliber that he does. Such a quintessential part of the Star Wars prequels was the iconic lightsaber fights. I mean, would those prequels have been what they were without the lightsaber choreography that Nick invented? Absolutely not. And so I was very fortunate to learn that choreography from him personally. And he then hired me to be his sword assistant. So I'm unbelievably fortunate to have had that experience. And that looped me into kind of the Lucasfilm world, where I made a lot of incredible friends that I'll carry with me as long as we're both here. And I went on to do the Star Wars Battlefront franchise, where I did all the motion capture for Luke Skywalker, both the sword choreography and a lot of just other movement. And I did the Mythbusters Star Wars special, which was a lot of fun. We went out to San Francisco for a couple weeks, and I taught Adam and Jamie how to use lightsabers, and we did a lot of really cool tests. Like they set up an air cannon where they were shooting foam darts, and they were able to get it up to 150 miles an hour, and they stuck me 40 feet in front of it with a little, stick in my hands and said, hey, block this. So, we did.
And we did, yeah. Well, exactly. That's why you get to do, and they hire you for what you do, which is just incredible.
That's a lot of fun. Like I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
That
except music and
right.
acting.
Yeah. Yes, except for all those other things, but yes, but obviously you can tell your passion for it, and that's a big part. And the funny thing is I'm literally, I make custom jewelry, and that's what I do this is my passion project, and I am just finishing, like it should be done by the end of this month, a lightsaber ring and arc reactor Iron Man inspired band. It's got both of them. We're using
That's insane. That's
stones.
why I need to see that. You better send
I'm
that.
going to post it.
I want to see all the photos, everything.
Like the silhouette of some lightsaber going around like this, and then the baguettes, and then it's so cool. I'm just so excited to show it off. But it just reminded me when you talked about Star Wars, because I'm always here. I'm here for alternative interests. That's what I do, because I could never find what I wanted, right? So I love when people come to me.
Can we really call Star Wars alternative?
Not now, for sure.
Not now. The multi-billion-dollar franchise.
Kay's Jewelers or whatever, and get a Star Wars ring. You know what I mean?
That's
a Star Wars engagement ring. So it's alternative as far as like what I do,
and
right?
If you can, do you really want the Star Wars ring from Kay's Jewelers? No, no shade for anybody who bought one, but
everybody else
you could go to our wonderful friend Amity here and get something completely custom.
Yeah.
Talking to you, all the Star Wars fans that are going to be watching this from my channels.
So that just brought it up, and so it's going to be so cool. Obviously, I'm going to show it off when it's done. And then we're going to get to a cross between, but I really just want to share. I don't usually share my own stories, but this happened yesterday, and it's just crazy to me. So I have 3 kids, but one of them is 7. It's fine. She's obsessed with dinosaurs. I know she's only 7. Not a bad mom, I promise, but she's seen every single Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and everything in the universe, of course, right? She watches them all the time, and I'm always like, aren't you scared? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, they're robots, mommy. Like, she's fine, right? Or they're computer.
Hannah's better than I did when I was 6. I was 7.
My other 2 kids, my other 7-year-old and 9-year-old, no, they won't touch any of those, but she just loves it and everything about it. And this is like legit happened. I was going through your site and everything yesterday when we were, I was getting ready what we wanted to talk about and everything. And she saw your picture and stuff on there, and she knew exactly who you were from Jurassic World. I was like, are you kidding me? Because we didn't even see your hair in it, And she knew. She knew exactly who you were.
Awesome.
And I was like, I'm going to talk to her tomorrow. She's like, no, you're not. She doesn't even believe me. So wild. I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, so I know we were talking about Star Wars, but hey, It's also in Jurassic, so
Just
guys
a
can check that out as well.
just a tiny little film. It's
it's just a little small. It's just
this little
if you've heard of
independent
it.
studio called Universal.
yeah, they're pretty indie.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so if you haven't heard of it, you guys can look that up. No, we'll put all the links below. But I just thought that was so cool. I mean, my 7-year-old, that's just a cool story.
And
So
if you're new here and you haven't heard of the Jurassic Park franchise, just look in the comments section below in the description. There'll be a link to Amazon, and you can find this really great indie production. There's animatronics. It's some CGI, some really advanced CGI. It's really impressive what they've managed to do with a measly budget of like $200 million.
and we go to like all the tours that come around. Like we go to all of them with her. The other kids won't go, but yeah, it's just awesome. And so it doesn't bring us, but we'll fangirl from my daughter aside and definitely get to your guys' music. A cross between. I was listening to it a bunch last night, and my music taste very much is influenced by when I feel like grew up, like went to high school in the 90s, so very like grunge, but I moved on to like more industrial, like Nine Inch Nails, Gravity Kills, like stuff like that. So it was cool to like feel that industrial influence, but I know it's so much more than that. So actually, since Mikhail, we haven't gotten to talk to you a little bit, do you want to introduce like how that kind of started and what this. And like I was reading all about like the mission behind it and what you guys are doing with the music. So I think it's super fascinating and our listeners would love that.
Yeah, so surprisingly enough, me and Colby kind of have similar backgrounds musically. My parents and Colby's parents were both like Gothic people back in the day, like, 80s. So both me and Colby grew up on like the same music. So before we started our project, we started kind of talking and we're like, oh shit, we're fairly similar. And so at the time I was working on one of my projects that I kind of set aside for a cross between Dungeons, and that was more like industrial, like much more heavily industrial and inspired by things like Knights or Ebb and Front 242. And when we started working together, Colby was like, well, why don't we do something that's more I guess the word would be a little bit more accessible to people that are not necessarily in like the Gothic industrial kind of sphere. So we started doing things like mid-tempo and industrial bass, and we still kind of keep that old, well, not old, but like we still keep that kind of industrial influence. So like certain songs, like we still, me and Colby still listen to Knights or Ebb and Front 242 and Ministry and stuff like that. So, we
the goth stuff too.
All the goth stuff, yeah. Everything like that. Like,
it's like, I was out in California recently, and it's like, Mikhail has pretty much everything you could want on vinyl, and it's like, I didn't even take a look at it. It's like, hey, what want to flip through and put something on? I'm just like, yeah, put on Floodland by Sisters of Mercy. And I don't have to look for it. I know it's there.
Yeah, so like we are insofar as like anything goth, like we're pretty much out there. I mean, I'm wearing a essentially Christian Death t-shirt. I have Rick Agnew on my t-shirt, so
I'm just wearing anime because
I mean it works. I mean we're both influenced by anime and goth stuff, so we were like, why don't we combine the two on top of that aesthetically? So we kind of combine those aesthetics and combine those sounds, and that's how we got a cross between. And that's how we figured that, like, hey, we're a cross between all these different genres when we were trying to figure out a name. I don't remember some of the names we kicked around, but Colby came up with a cross between because we were like a cross between this or a cross between that or a cross between this other thing. So we're like, well, let's go with a cross between. That's essentially what we are. So
I love the accessibility piece that you brought in there, because people who may say, oh, goth is scary or no thank you, but it's almost like I call Gravity Kills as my gateway band that got me into my heavier stuff or whatever. So I feel like it makes people, I feel like it could bring people more to hearing that, right? Especially it could be, you guys could be their gateway to it for any people who are scared or
that's our hope.
have that connotation that we're trying to all blast off about goth or alternative or anything like that.
Right.
So that's really cool. Definitely going to have some links there. And I don't know if this is right or not, so you guys tell me, but I was listening to several different tracks of your guys' music yesterday, and then I put on the newest one, and it seemed a little different as far as like it was like the talking, the meaning, etc. So was that like a special song? Are you guys veering in another direction, or was it just how you guys were feeling for that song?
Yeah. We made that 2 years ago,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I can't even say that like we're going in this other direction. We've got a lot of unreleased music, and this is one of them. We're like, okay, we want to put out something that's a bit more on the techno end of things. It's something that we like to play. We mix into our shows. Things with like the really Berlin dark underground scene. It's very prevalent in LA right now. A lot of afters going on that are just like techno parties. Whether you're in New York or Los Angeles, Orlando, Miami, like the techno afters are here right now.
Yeah, techno is really
cool.
Over. Yeah.
And one of the things that's nice to see, like you'll see it in the Los Angeles scene. You have a big goth EBM industrial community in LA. And here you have a lot of the people who go to the music festivals are more EDM oriented. They're getting very involved in techno. And techno's been around forever, but you're starting to see a lot more of a wider demographic finding the techno scene. And so you have this wider demographic finding this techno scene, and they're hiring for these afters a lot of people within the goth industrial EBM scene. So you're seeing a lot of the dancers and DJs, like hosts, hostesses from the goth scene being pulled into this exploding techno community, which is really great. Like the goth community, I mean, we can be honest, it's slowly shrinking, and it's unfortunate. And so being able to find new outlets to bring people into that scene, I think is hugely important. It's part of one of the things why we really love, Cross Between, being able to pull people kind of like, okay, we're going to, take you into the dungeons now. I really love being able to do that. And I like seeing that happen across the country and around the world. But, it's something that's way more prevalent in Europe.
Yes.
But in the US, I don't think we've seen this much of involvement and growth within that scene since probably the early 90s.
Yeah, probably something like the 90s with like,
yep,
like TVT and Wax Trax records. But
and if I go to goths, we've got some goth things out here, or a metal night, or a gothic something. It's all people my age, meaning like 40s or late 30s, and it's the young people missed it, right? But it's coming back around now. So, and that's part of my thing too with the collections I'm releasing, etc. I think I'm trying to make them, because accessibility is a huge thing. That's the whole passion project here, is to show like, hey, it's not scary. There's so much you're missing out on. And with my passion project, trying to make them like, okay, yes, it is spooky by Vampire Ring, but hey, you don't actually notice unless, wait, what? Those are fangs?
Yeah, until you start looking deeper, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because when I was an attorney, a courtroom attorney, I could not wear that kind of stuff, and it just
right.
So making things like that, right? It's like an accessibility. I know it's just jewelry, but still, it's like a gateway. Like, hey, let's experience more of this stuff. Or what else is
legally
there? Legally
goth out here.
Legally goth.
And when I was getting married 13 years ago, we were having a Gothic Halloween wedding, and I had to get like everything overseas in Europe, UK, etc., because like you guys were saying, it's so much bigger out there. So, we're getting it out here. So that's exciting. And then part of that, which is how again we guys met, was Grimoire Academy as well. The only reason I had known is because they're about to do a show here. I'm in Colorado. They're about to do a show here, and it just sounds amazing. It's like for listeners, like, oh, witchy, celestial oddities, Halloween themed market with only those kinds of vendors allowed, which is hello, I want to go shop there. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, I want to go there too, but
Uh-huh.
I need to shop there. And so, but it's not just that, it's more than that. So I was hoping you guys could share all the other things they do and how you guys got involved with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I also DJ under just my own name, Colby Boothman. And I was in Rhode Island. I had moved there during COVID. My whole industry shut down, like the whole, country did, not just my industry. And so my grandmother lives in Rhode Island, and so I went up there. And as things started to open up, one of the first events happening in Rhode Island was by Grimoire Academy, and this was like a kind of broad genre Irish themed St. Patrick's Day party. Sam Wolf came in and was headlining that night, and me and my PR team had like seen that show and like, oh, that's cool. There's barely any techno or EDM anything happening in Rhode Island. So my team reached out to Joey and Grimoire Academy, and ended up playing that night and opening for Sam, and had an incredible time. I didn't even know what to expect, what to play going out there, so I just played a bit of techno. I played some of our original tracks. Actually, I played wrong. Um,
Yeah, you did. I remember
yeah,
seeing the recordings.
wrong was like a track we were just finishing up at the time. And so we actually ended up using that as like an unreleased thing for the teaser. And, 2 years later, here we are releasing that track.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a track we've been like sitting on for a while. We have a few tracks that we've been kind of sitting on for a while, and it's kind of ridiculous how much we have that's unreleased. But I remember when Colby started doing work with Grimoire, and there was a show in November of 2022, right? 2022, Colby.
Yes. Yeah, November
Yeah.
2022. That was in Boston.
Yeah, Boston at the Royale, which is a pretty big club in Boston. It's pretty huge.
Hmm.
And I remember Colby texted me saying, "Hey, can you fly out here?" So we could debut our project. So I hopped on a plane, and gosh, I was probably in Rhode Island in Boston for like almost 2 weeks. I was there for a while, and we banged out a DJ set that would introduce a lot of our tracks that we'd only released last year. With one of our tracks off of our actual EP, Light and Darkness. That's something that was finished right around the time Wrong was. And we debuted that. I can't remember every single track we played, but I remember we played at least three or four of our tracks that were unreleased at the time. And that show was pretty amazing, honestly. It was a packed club in November. We had a pretty big lineup. A lot of them were people that typically DJ with Grimoire, and we also had brought out one of our friends who's kind of big in the VR sphere by the name of Thrill Seeker. He was one of the DJs, and we also, as far as we're aware, we also had me and Colby do a lot of work in like the VR sphere with like VR chat and such like that, and we debuted this group called Peppercast, who do a lot of their whole mission is to bring dancing to VR chat.
Yeah,
and
I think so. They had. I can kind of dive into that one a bit more deeply. Peppercast is like a VR and IRL, like mixed reality dance company and visuals. So they do kind of the hologram projections. If you've ever seen some of the Hatsune Miku stuff, it's similar to that, where you have transparent screens and projection mapping and to create this really holographic, cool effect. And the Peppercast team came up from Texas, and they brought some of their servers, and because the club they were playing at, while large, just didn't have the capability to handle the kind of visuals that we really wanted to have for that show. And Grimoire was really great for working hand in hand to make sure that this show was going to be something unique that nobody had really seen before. And the Peppercast team came out. We had a VJ. She goes by the name of Silent, who is a phenomenal DJ and VJ. And we had her kind of handle the visuals, which were incredibly involved. Time-coded show control visuals, which are going to mean nothing to most of the people listening. But in the music world, in visuals world,
it's pretty big.
We have our DJ equipment, which are our Pioneer CDJs. And what we do is we have a line that goes to the front of house, which is where the AV kind of hub at a venue or festival is. And so they have a preview of everything that I have loaded on CDJs. So it has the timing, the name of the track, notes, and it allows them to sync that data with the visuals. So we can have custom-made visuals that, Mikhail created some crazy stuff for. And then I have, under Colby Boothman, I have a lot of my own visuals that I've been using for quite a while. I have Star Wars stuff. I have things that like Lucasfilm put together. So when I do things under Colby Boothman, like there's just a lot of technical things that can be used to help create these shows. It's a DJ show if I'm doing under my name or if we're doing a cross between. It's a musical performance, but it is a show, and so we're very careful in curating the entire experience, everything from what type of visuals, how they're being displayed, the artists that we're working with, whether it's incredible VJs like Silent or the Peppercast team who was able to, and this is what's really cool. So like obviously we do a lot of the VJ stuff, and we have the VR stuff. And so we kind of blended these two worlds together during our show. Peppercast being this hologram mixed reality experience brought in a lot of their dancers in VR. And so what we did is we took a feed of the show, which is like cameras from the show and the audio, and we pumped it into Thrill Seeker. He has a club in VR, and he DJs under Thrill. He's got a club called Schism. And you can show like a video wall virtually at the club. And so we brought the video and music from the club happening live into VR to his club. Not only did we bring it to VR, we had Peppercast's VR dancers who are unbelievably talented artists.
Very talented people. Very, very, very.
With them, they brought in 10 dancers for that show. And the entire time for our set and for Thrill's set, I think most of Thrill's set, they had the dancing as well. We had these real dancers, but in VR. So you have these VR dancers on screen and on hologram on stage.
With also real dancers too at the same time. So we had a bunch of moving parts.
Yeah. And so that was really cool is to see these VR dancers. Most people just thought they were like pre-done, pre-rendered visuals that were added in. And instead it was actually these VR dancers on a green screen. So they're in VR and their avatar is on a green screen. So our music and video is piped to these dancers all around the world. And they're dancing with their headset, like in VR in front of a virtual green screen. And that data gets sent to front of house at the show. So Silent is able to take these green screen dancing avatars and overlay it on top of our visuals and put that in real time in the club. So like the amount of levels of depth that just that one show we had was impressive.
Yeah,
and
it was.
We could not have been able to do that without obviously Grimoire Academy support.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
and that was our debut show.
Yeah, it's like, hey, let's hope nothing goes wrong. which of
Yeah.
course it naturally
Naturally,
things
everything
do.
goes wrong.
It does.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's technology.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we get there and oh god, it was kind of chaotic. Because of these type of specifications that we have, everything has to be like firmware on our DJ equipment has to be up to date, and this is not stuff that we own. You know, when you travel around, we're not bringing $16,000 worth of just CDJs everywhere, and it's a huge liability. So usually you get CDJs are brought in by a club, and they set up the CDJs. Nothing at Royale. Phenomenal place. Incredible
Very.
club. If you've never seen it, if you're in the Boston area, like, if you're not, look them up. Visuals are insane. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of video walls in this club and production. But with the level of technical specification we had to bring in, even a lot of things in that just to be able to handle all of the production for the show. These are the type of things you won't see unless you're like at Ultra or it's a big name like Millennium or something. Like, we're just fortunate to be able to bring these types of experiences to audiences. But like the chaos of putting it together, something is always going to go wrong.
Yeah,
know?
very much. Okay.
Speaking of technical difficulties, we're back. But we were at Royale, and the front of house, the Silent and Peppercast team, were having a lot of difficulty getting the data from the CDJs that they need to be able to sync all the visuals and all kinds of stuff. And I think it was while our wonderful friend Impulse Live, who's one of the Grimoire cult of DJs, along with Lore, LAWR, Vans. If you go to the kind of the Grimoire Academy, you will see on the socials kind of just all these incredible artists. But while some of them were performing at Royale, you have the production team at Royale updating the firmware on the DJ equipment while they're playing. And they're just like, you'd have somebody running around as like a USB, like putting in data, loading up software. And fortunately, CDJs like individual units, and we have 4 of them on stage, plus a mixer. And they're going through like trying to update each one of them individually, like while they're trying to DJ. No, don't use that one. That one's at 56%.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it was
there's 1,000 people in front of like.
Yeah, there was a lot of. It felt like chickens with their heads cut off, just running around. It was pretty bad.
Make it work. Make it work.
They made it work. I
yeah.
don't think anyone noticed that there was chaos happening.
Make it work is like basically my life motto.
Yeah.
Something's happened, so make it work. Make it work. And all the things that you guys just explained, like about how those shows work, and the one you were just talking about was from November 22, right? Mm-hmm. So much technology and things coming in there, and even just from 22 to right now, all the crazy leaps we're having in technology. I can't even imagine where it's going, and I think it's so cool you guys are like right in the forefront of that. Obviously, I'm not an expert by any means, but I just know
we're still using CDJ 3000, so that hasn't changed yet.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. Yeah.
But just the VR, just all of the things. At least on a recent podcast, we were talking about like just AI, how it's super controversial, and now it's like readily available, right? And I'm just of the mindset, sure, but if you're not using it or embracing the new technology, your competitor is going to, right? So like,
yeah.
You've got to adopt.
And you know, I think like AI can be used like a tool, and a lot of it is just to make sure that, you know, you're being kind of respectful of other artists. And I think AI should be like music. Like if you're going to use other people's music to sample or whatever, royalties go to those artists along with credit. And I think that would be a really great way of handling it. And it's just so early, and things are developing so fast that these systems that took decades and decades to be put in place in other industries, you know, like the film industry, it took decades for us to unionize and to create royalty programs, and a lot of laws had to be made in order to support various artists. And I think something like that would be really great for works of art.
I have
Because
no
we now
doubt
have
it will come. It will go
something.
that way.
Yeah, and I think that if artists want to put their artwork into kind of these generative programs to be utilized, and then whenever they get used, they can get percentages assigned to them because their work was used to help create kind of like generative AI and machine learning. I think that would be a really great way for artists, which are absolutely struggling, to find additional sources of revenue with technologies that are becoming prevalently available. And something that's pretty interesting with our show in Boston, like the AI stuff was really blowing up. And we actually had really unique use of AI in our show that a lot of people didn't even know. And that was the form of 3D real-time software that was put together specifically for that show. And this was kind of like technology. I have to bear with me as I scroll through my phone to find the artist from that show that developed it, because what they created was really unique. And this wasn't something where they're like ripping a bunch of different artists. They were the person that wrote the code to create this fully unique software that developed 3D 360 imagery. So if you have a camera, you can look all around you and you have changing visuals happening in three-dimensional space. And this was the first time that this had ever been shown, like literally days before the technology, like a visual of what this type of technology is, was publicly released. And we were the first to publicly display these 360
video assets, essentially.
Yeah. Kind of real-time generated visuals. And it was like, I think there was so much happening in that show that was like, this is the first time that this has ever been done. And then the audience is just like, wow, that's cool. I don't know what's happening, but it's different. Know what's
going on. Yeah.
Like,
they didn't understand everything that went into it. But it's almost like, well, for years and years and years, it's almost been like technology and creatives like don't mix, right? So it's really cool to see how you guys are able to do that and create new, like, make it into really unique experiences. And then, technology is just improving so fast right now.
Oh, yeah.
And then just as far as AI, when I was talking before, the way you were talking about it, which I agree. I mean, it's almost like if I'm dating myself, like Napster in '99, right? And then we had to deal with the whole royalties, all of those things.
Right, yeah.
As far as, it came around as far as artwork. But in my opinion, just like for business, I was just thinking like, hey, your AI chatbots on your website, or AI automating some of your back office processes. You know what I mean? Like businesses are going to do that. And then the ones that don't, that are still hand doing it. So that's why just in general, technology, like the ones that you guys were just talking about in November and everything, or from that show, is just early adopters and showing all the cool things that you can do with it. Like, I'm just so impressed with that. So.
Yeah.
So I just looked it up before I could forget. And the artist who created those visuals was Scotty Fox. And so for that, what he created was stable diffused VR system that creates not just like it's not like a 360 video. It's an actual VR rendering in real time that's changing all around you. So you can be in VR, moving around. And what he did is he went through and capture recorded that. We basically said, here's the type of style and characteristic and colors that we're going for the show. And he created a visual that would match that, and created this real-time VR like cinemascape for that, and then rendered it out for us to use in the show. So that went to Silent, and Silent was mixing these first time stable diffused VR technology in the set with as you can see, I actually just emailed a video of it over to you. We have this Stable Diffusion VR CinemaScape with the VR dancers on top of it. Like, there's just so much going into that show, and it's like, cool, wow, they put a lot of work into whatever's happening in front of me. Like,
yeah, it was basically it was worth it
because I'm like DJing and interacting with the crowd, and we're just like, we're on stage, and we're just like, occasionally, I remember when like I when I brought Mick out to kind of debut Across Between, we spent half the time just like glancing over our shoulder at just the video that's behind us, and like all the visuals just on this massive 40-foot like curved LED screen.
Yeah, it was like we would be sitting there, mixing, and then we'd get to a point where like, okay, we don't really need to do anything right now. So I would tap Colby on the shoulder and go, look, yeah, check it out. So if some people have recordings of the show, and like you could see us going, and then we would just keep constantly looking back. We couldn't keep our eyes off of it. So it was pretty intense. But that show was it ran out, like, I don't want to say it ran without a hitch. It had a lot of hitches, but to someone that was there, they wouldn't have known. Which is, to us, that's the most important thing. Is like, as long as they can't tell,
right? They're not supposed to see all the behind the scenes.
Yeah, as long as we could keep the chaos behind the curtain.
Yeah, I'm a big ball of stress, but as long as they're having fun.
Yeah. As long as they're having fun, we're having fun, and like, and plus we also do shows that are not as high tech, and me and Colby, we love going to shows that are in like tiny little bars that to bands that only play to like maybe 5 people. So like we also like that kind of scene too. So like we don't have to always be in a high tech setting. That's that's our background. I mean,
personally, we played in Orlando. It was another one of the Grimoire events. It's a music festival called, bear with me, I can't remember the name of it. Something
It was
Rail.
Strange Desert. It was called Strange Desert.
That's it.
In the swamp of Florida. Yeah. Strange Desert.
And so there was like a base stage that was a warehouse vibe, and that is entirely like another one of our aesthetics, is like that dark warehouse with just like flashing red lights, and that just, we had a lot of fun with that. And it's like no LED wall, nothing, just a big crowd, a rail that absolutely got broken, and loudspeakers just slamming them with bass, and that's kind of what that show was, and we had a lot of fun with that. We brought out I like to, for like my personal shows, for a Cross Between, it's always important to bring out other artists, special guests, and we brought out our friend Ricky Whatever for that, who sang live vocals on a couple of their tracks that we remixed specifically for that show. And so it's always fun to take like another artist's track and like live remix it to an audience. Like, it can catch them completely. We made sure that like, he had the I kind of pre-mixed something to record to, and be like, hey, this is roughly what it's going to be like, so that way you're not like
going into blind
by the fact that this is your song, but it's also very different, because now it's like for that one we did like this future bass remix, and it was really, really cool to be able to have a live singer with a future bass remix that was made just for that show. And then I've done that in, I think, pretty much every Grimoire show. I've brought out special guests. In another show in Rhode Island, we played kind of an outdoor show, just crazy. I'm like looking out, I'm DJing, and there's like people in full suits of armor, like going to town, like with swords and axes, battling each other. And I'm just like, cool, playing dubstep, and here is like knights fighting like 30 feet away. Is crazy. And for that show, I brought out our friend Ben Jane, who's the producer he's produced for everyone, like Kendrick Lamar, Rich the Kid, ASAP Ferg, a lot of lot of big tracks like ASAP Ferg's Jet Lag, which is another track that I've remixed. So it was really cool to bring him out, and he played some of his own music. So it's cool to have like live vocalists, live guitarists. I love bringing instruments when I can. We've done that for we haven't done a live instrument for any of our Cross Between shows, but I've tested that out with some of like my personal.
Yeah, and we're definitely looking on adding more like real instruments on top of it being like a DJ set. So it's like we like doing like a hybrid thing, because like on top of like doing our own music, the nice thing about doing DJing is that you can kind of introduce. I always felt like it was kind of the job of the DJ to kind of introduce people to new music. Yeah. And so like when it's a Cross Between show, we're playing, we might be playing Skinny Puppy, and then we might be playing someone like, I don't know, Rez, who is kind of industrial adjacent, and then we might somehow figure out how we could fit in Taylor Swift.
I knew you were going to say Taylor Swift. Yeah. In my head, I knew you were going to say. Oh my goodness.
Like me and Colby, we like to keep everything dark, and for our Cross Between show, it's a very, I don't want to say dark experience. It really isn't. We kind of aim for a more fun environment. Yeah. People kind of forget, like, goths like to have fun. Yeah, we don't just sit around in our clubs. Yeah, we don't sit around in clubs.
We did one VR show fairly recently. It was called Nurtured, which is a Porter Robinson inspired virtual music festival run by our friend Naku. And it's like a big VR experience, very visual intensive. Everybody has VJs. Some of the most incredible sets that you'll ever see are happening virtually at these experiences. So for this one, we had like obviously the Porter Robinson edits, which are we just brought them to a really dark place, and this industrial mid-tempo that was just super fun. And we'd mix in things like Skinny Puppy into a future bass edit. We'd even like put that in the visuals. I can't remember, we put like yes, this is Skinny Puppy being played like in text on the actual visuals. We do like to have fun with that. Of course, like we're playing this like very serious, mostly dark set for that one, because for the festival experience, we do shows that are really fun. Like if you recall, there was the Inaccessible Foyer.
Oh yeah, that was a VR thing.
There's like this big meme that took over the internet, and somebody created the Inaccessible Foyer in VR as like a place you can play, and it had like a little DJ booth. And we saw that, and we're like, we're doing a pop-up show.
Yeah, we got to do a little show
this week. And we like tossed together. We got a whole bunch of our friends out. I think Meowski and Naku and
our friend Eulogy.
Yeah, Eulogy played that show.
I think there's someone else in there. I don't remember, but
yeah. It's just a stacked line out. Rue doing the after party. Just unbelievable DJs and artists that play both real shows and VR. Like these are people who travel around and do incredible things in all walks of life. And we'll do parties like that where it's just a big meme. It was like we're doing a house party and we're throwing down everything from heavy bass to remixes of Katy Perry.
Yeah. We have Katy Perry right up next to Combi Christ, so it's a very eclectic is the best way to
We're just there to have fun for some of those, and then when we do our like bigger shows and the more serious things like Nurtured, which are just a very curated experience, they tend to be on the brand of what a Cross Between really is, for something that is just visually and everything, just something that'll just kind of suck you into this experience and bring you down this roller coaster of music. And that's what we kind of curated for Nurtured. And then, we still can't help ourselves because we're mostly Mikhail on the microphone, just like starting chants like Taco Bell. And like we just like
We
to
love
like
Taco
create
Bell, yeah.
Yeah, we like to just like, I don't know, create like these like lore jokes
Yeah.
that are just for the purely for the sake of themselves. Like our sponsor is Taco Bell. It's not actually true yet, but Taco Bell. If you want to hit us up,
Yeah, Taco Bell hit us up.
yeah. So yeah, we'll be doing a show, and then we have a crowd screaming Taco Bell for no reason.
No reason at all. Yeah. But yeah, we like to have fun. We also, on top of us being like, our music itself, it's a pretty. We try to create more gothic, more industrial kind of soundscapes. But at the end of the day, we're both really fun-loving people. We're not dark. We're not dark. But when it comes to our art, when it comes to our music, we like to put that effort into making sure that while on top of like our live music and the music that we play that isn't our music is going to flow well with the music that we also make as well. And we still keep that, like I said earlier, we still keep a very industrial influence kind of soundscape in everything that we do. Even if it's not a track that's not going to be outwardly industrial, there's still a level and tinge of like that dark kind of gothic feel to it. So, we always we pretty much almost always wear our influence on our sleeve. So like no matter where we go, no matter what we do, there's always going to be that light tinge of, if someone knew what they're looking out for or listening to, they'll go, oh, that's very I don't know, that's a very Skinny Puppy sound, that's a very Nine Inch Nails sound, or oh wow,
or just we're straight up playing Health, because
we're also big Health fans too. Yeah, so that's what we also do too.
So yeah, you'll hear some Health at the show, and you'll be headbanging to some Health, and then you're gonna keep your head up because you're about to get a giant inflatable Triceratops thrown in your face.
Yeah.
My daughter would love that.
Yeah, we always have like pool floaty like dinosaurs that we love to throw out. So
can't imagine why. No reason. Just no reason at all.
But that's just the reason. It's fun.
It's very fun.
I don't even know which song it was, because when I first looked up your music, it was just okay. I picked one and I just played it, and it totally made me think, maybe picture, and again, I don't know if this is dating myself again, but I totally felt like I was in Blade, the movie, in the club. Like I was like, this is like just bouncing around. Like it totally just felt like that to me. And Blade is one of my favorite movies of all time.
We get that a lot, actually.
Yes,
like when I first met Ben, like the guy that Colby was talking about, Colby was like, "Hey Ben, check out our music," and he pulled it up and he was listening and he's like, "This reminds me of Blade," and I'm like, I'm not gonna complain. Like I'm not gonna complain at all.
The blood rave scene is just unbelievably iconic.
Even before that part, maybe I just can picture like your shows, like people like having that much fun.
Yeah,
forget the blood
you're
part,
not wrong.
But
we get that comparison a lot, like a lot. So it makes me happy.
Yeah, 100. Anytime somebody says that, it's like, thank you. That's what we're going for. We are just like a rave party, just atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like if you can picture the atmosphere of our music, and if what you end up with is, oh, this is something like Blade, like I think we're doing an okay job, because that is exactly what we're trying to create.
Yeah, we're doing a good job. If they either tell me either Queen of the Damned or Blade, then yeah.
Queen of the Damned, I could see that too.
That's one of my I know it's a very cheesy movie. I know it didn't.
The soundtrack though is insane.
I love Queen of the Damned.
Some of my favorite bands are on that soundtrack. So.
Same here. So I watch that we're coming up on Halloween, and so that means I have to watch Queen of the Damned again. I watch it every year. It's the time.
Another correlation that came up, I don't know if you guys will even know it, but some listeners will, and it's going to be hilarious. So your when I was, looking at your website and everything, you show works of you when you're doing your swordsmanship or like the lightsaber, the choreography and things like that. And it didn't remind me, but if you've seen it as Arrested Development or anything, you have, okay, like the character Michael
It's one of
Cera's
the best
character
shows
George
of
Michael,
all
like
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
so you know what I'm talking about? The video where he's like doing his lightsaber thing. I feel like
Yeah.
they
So
should be put
that's a
next to each
reference
other.
to Star Wars Kid.
Like correct and Michael Cera's version.
Uh-huh.
Totally.
God, the Star Wars Kid
Yeah,
reference.
gosh.
That's throwback.
That is a throwback, yeah.
That's
Give me
like
whiplash.
that's like predating YouTube type of
yeah.
video. That's crazy.
That's crazy, yeah.
I feel like we should put them next to each other. But
Please don't.
there is,
Please don't.
Wait.
They're very different.
I'm not going to. I just like I'm seeing it and I'm like, wrong? Right. Like just in my head when I saw your video on your website. I was like, this is what it should look like.
Yeah. I put
but then
together
I'm-
like a reel actually fairly recently. It's just like a montage of just some of the sword work that I've done, whether it was from Mythbusters or Star Wars Battlefront, clips from the game, clips from Mythbusters, and then also just some fashion videography that Will Cook, who we work closely with, shot all the video up in Boston, has been a friend of mine. Like we grew up fencing together. And one of the videos that is kind of in there, and you'll probably see, I don't know if it's on the website or not, is a video, like a fencing fashion shoot and video that we did for British Fencing Magazine's like production. And so we created this very European high fashion aesthetic with just like fencing, but then also I'm wearing like Bali and Buscemi sneakers, and we had a Contours d'Elegance or Concours d'Elegance like award-winning Jaguar E-Type, and Sotheby's actually supplied like a house for us to like. It's not a house. They supplied a gorgeous estate for us to use for that video, and it's just like another just unique experience that like where I'm able to combine all of these things together, where it's fashion and music and video cinematography all into this world with like friends of mine, and that's the coolest part about like what I love to do and what I get to do, is to be able to have vision and influence and ideas and bring all of these things together to create little things to show the world. And like at its core, I think that's what a cross between is it's taking all of our influences, whether it's cinema, Front 242 and Clan of Zymox,
Yeah.
or Rez, or even stuff like Sullivan King and Excision. Like you just hear these influences, you find something unique, and you bring this collaboration of ideas together. And we're very fortunate to be able to do that with the Cross Between.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's really nice because I've been doing music for years now. I got my start playing in punk bands in high school and some metal bands in high school, and when I got kicked out of my metal band, I was like, I should just go back to doing my roots. And I did a few different projects, and they, obviously they never really got too far. But working with Colby and working together, we work really well together. Colby will say, "Hey, can you do this?" Or "I have an idea. Can you let's run with it." And some of our best work has been just stuff that inspired us and from just the world around us and such like that. So it's just been a really a fun and interesting journey doing a cross between and being able to play some of these shows, and hopefully we have some coming up, so hopefully we could kind of show the world that we that we can introduce them to more music than just what they listen to. So it's
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's been a
we'll
great
put
opportunity.
all that information in the show notes too, because you're probably not just going to sit and list every single thing, but any information we have for listeners, we will have that for you in the show notes, so you're not missing that, and links to everything. And I know we've been talking forever, but listeners,
Right.
I know you're still here because it's been super fascinating. So,
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to
Thank
bring
you.
up one
I
thing that our
love talking so much about this.
yes,
Yeah,
I
we
could go
do.
on forever.
Yeah, we do.
But listeners, one thing I didn't bring up, and it didn't just come up, but I want you guys to know is that Mikhail and Colby, they have a cross between together. They make music together. They do all this work together. They live on opposite coasts of the country. So I'm just so impressed by how they make that work, and just the technology and abilities we have today to be able to do something so cool even when you're not directly with someone. And if you guys can just speak to, like, does that influence or help part of your process or working with it?
So it's a challenge. It's more of a challenge than anything, because it's on one hand, it's very awesome that, like, I know we could be on opposite ends of the country or even opposite ends of the world and be like, all right, we need to do something, and we can work together and make music. Almost all of our tracks have been done remotely. But it's a challenge. Like I said, it's a challenge because, like, Colby can't kick me out of my seat and go, I want to play on your keyboard, let me work something out. That's something that we can't do.
A lot of times I'm like, I know how to do this. I physically can't click the mouse to be able to do this.
Yeah, because sometimes, like, the ideas that, like, Colby has or the ideas that I have, it's music. Sometimes you just can't verbalize it. You can't go, I want it to go do do do. Okay, well, how does it go do do do? What do you mean by that? So, you can't do that. But, like, if Colby was here, I could get kicked out of the seat.
It's a bit
Colby
easier,
could plop
yeah.
down. Yeah, it's a little bit
It's like, hey,
easier.
I've got this drum pattern, in my head.
Yeah, let me work it out.
A lot of times I'm just describing, like, okay, let's put, a clap with the snare reverbed out on the 3, and, it's like, you have to work in terms of numbers and beats and bars.
Yeah.
But we make it work for sure.
We make it work. Yeah. We still make it work.
I'm super impressed. I mean,
Yeah.
how many groups out there work that way? Like, I bet it's a really low number.
It's a very small number. Yeah.
It's very
a pretty
impressive.
small number.
I would say, particularly in the type of electronic world that we're in, like, for bands are a collaboration of artists. You have bass, guitar, drummers, synths, keyboards, singers, and it's a lot of people wearing different hats. But they're much more involved with multiple people. You might send like a guitar riff to a drummer, and a drummer will come up with something. But for the most part, with electronic music, there aren't too many, particularly in the more EDM kind of DJ world of things, where you have groups. And this duo, I think of as more like a band.
Yeah.
The way that we put things together, we might have guitar that we pass off to a friend to try something, and I don't know whether or not we'll bring in, logistically, it's just very hard to have permanent guitarists and things, but we have people regionally, like my buddy Andrew. If we're doing a show up in New England, we can bring him in to do guitar, or Danny in South Florida, and we have people out in California for drums and guitar that we're able to use, and so we're trying to figure out logistically, like, how can we bring more of that band culture into the dance world.
Yeah.
Because we're creating dance music, but our roots are just so
we're from
driven
bands.
by bands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Our roots are from bands, because you go to industrial shows, they might be making dance music, but they're still a band at the end of the day. They're still a band. They typically have their instruments out. They're not DJing. Us, we're DJing, but we come from backgrounds that are traditional bands, essentially. So we want to kind of introduce that to the crowd that's more used to seeing someone on stage that's spinning on decks.
I love live elements.
Yeah. And our shows feel more like band shows, even though, we have a DJ deck right there and we're spinning on it. We try to go, we don't like just standing behind a DJ deck. To us, that's boring. We like to be out there. We like to get involved with the crowd and hype everyone up face to face.
Put on a show.
Yeah, we like to put on a show.
And from like even just a DJ perspective, I tend to be very, very involved where, it's just we'll have 4 decks up there and I'm using all of them. Like, my hands are just
Yeah, Colby's hand. Yeah, you're seeing Colby's hands. Just it's quick. It's very fast. And having me
It's
up
fun.
there,
I
if
enjoy
Colby's
it.
busy doing that, I could run over and be like, all right,
Could
I
I
gotta get
pre-record
everyone.
something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I gonna have more fun doing it live? Like
No.
putting in an acapella or having, a tripled track. I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the crowd can hear it. And occasionally I'm gonna mess up. Like,
Yeah, and that's where you just gotta roll with it.
Oh,
I'm just creating.
We're human. That's right.
Yeah, just DJing is like kind of an art that I think gets lost on a lot of big stages.
Yeah, for sure.
And the bigger the stage, the less
more you get
involved
lost.
it usually is.
Yeah.
Like you'll have festivals that are like, okay, this has to be a pre-recorded set, and yeah, I get it. A lot of times it has to do with timing and making sure that schedules are on whatever, and just creating as little problems as possible. But for me, I like to do as much live as I possibly can. And going forward, like, there are some artists like Sullivan Kang, Trivecta, who do guitars. And I want to, hopefully we'll be able to introduce more of that with more of our shows. And it's harder and it's more expensive. And it's definitely nothing about what we do has ever been the easy way of doing things. So,
no.
Innovation is never easy.
Yeah,
no, it's never easy.
I was talking with Joey yesterday, and the creator of Grimoire Academy, and it's this industry is a struggle. It's very hard to get anywhere musically in the film world, whether you're acting, writing, modeling, producing, like
anything entertainment.
The
really.
arts, if you're a sculptor, a painter, a jeweler, like these are arts. And it is not easy to be able to be successful, to be able to, I don't even want to say make a living off of the arts, just being able to have your work seen is a struggle. And the people that are able to get there are the ones that go over the top, that over deliver by orders of magnitude. And that's what I'm always trying to do in every aspect of these careers, is to be able to do something unique, to bring an experience that people haven't seen before, even if they've never even heard of us. If you're at a show and you're like, oh, let me just go to this whatever, it's a Friday night with the friends and it's so-and-so's birthday, we're going to go to this club that we normally go to, and we just happen to be the people playing. We want them to go home remembering that experience for the rest of their life. And that's what, as an artist, I'm always trying to do, is you're dedicating your time, your money to be here with us, and I want to be able to give you the best possible experience that I can.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter how big or small the venue is. We're going to be playing just as hard to a crowd of 10 people, and we're going to be playing just as hard for a crowd of 10 people as if we're playing to a crowd of like 10,000 people. So, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people show up. We're always going to try to deliver the best possible show that someone can have.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. Your guys' passion totally shows through when you're talking, I'm sure when you're playing as well. So I don't even know how long we've been on. But we definitely wrap up. But by wrapping up, I mean, I just want to, for listeners, there are going to be a lot of links, okay? Because we talked about a lot of things.
We did.
So
yeah, we did.
If you heard something or you want to know more, we're gonna make these show notes really informative. So definitely check down there. We'll have all the links on where you can find Colby and Mikhail and everything, and across between, and their music, and not the Arrested Development video. That will not be linked.
But you will be able to find out about Grimoire Academy in the link below, their upcoming shows.
Yes.
And, maybe check out some of these independent films or games. You might have heard of them. Jurassic World, Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, very small indie
We'll put
studios.
the links below as well.
We'll have all
Yeah.
of that for sure. And then definitely, because Grimoire Academy, you heard me talk about, well, it's Grimoire Academy and Grimoire Studios. You heard me talk about sort of this market that we're having where you can, people who love this kind of stuff can find all the vendors like that. You're not like just searching through it, right? And then you also
Right.
hear these shows that they put on, right? So they actually have even more than just those.
It's actually really, really cool. The kind of the Grimoire brand and experience to be both just the music world, and then also these wild eclectic shows. You'll see a lot of the artists like Lauren. She's doing tarot reading during the day at kind of these fairs, and then throwing the rager at night with the DJ parties. And it's really cool just to see the kind of the multitudes of talents that these artists bring to the table in an experience that's kind of unlike anything else. There are big music festivals, club shows. In here, you just have something that is purely dedicated to having fun. It's not about, who's the biggest headliner and, getting big bottle service with, the squad. I mean, granted, if you want to get big bottle service with the squad,
We won't stop you.
yeah, we're not going to stop you. But it's a very unique experience that is just at its core just a party. And it's that same atmosphere that you had growing up, going to house parties with your friends. It's that same atmosphere of like, this isn't like your typical headbanger show. It's just a bunch of artists who are really passionate about what they do, creating a fun experience for whoever walks in the door. And that's kind of what the parties are.
Yeah.
And then for a lot of people, not everybody wants to go to those parties. Not everybody is as social. Some people, they just like to have a more casual, calm, or just a really unique experience. So,
and those fairs are really fun. They're awesome. I had the opportunity to go to one that Joey had set up in Ventura, California, and it was, it was almost like the same atmosphere that he puts together at those music festivals. I mean, is it like super party? No, but you still feel like you're
lots of
you're
costumes.
There's lots of costumes. There's a lot of alternative people showing up, and even though it's not like a woo house party, it still feels like a party. Like a party that you want to go to and have fun. And yeah, there's vendors. There might not even be music. Sometimes that's a whole different story with like vendor issues.
Yeah,
and
there
stuff
might
like
not
that,
be music, but there's still usually alcohol. And if you want bottle service,
you can still get it. But I mean, outside of that, you're still having a lot of fun. Like just being there, it feels like you're at a party and you're being around people that are like-minded, and it's just always a great experience.
It's the community, definitely.
Yes.
The like-minded. That's exactly what I was thinking. The community of people who have, similar interests and are going to like things, or, maybe are going to be introduced to something new and things. And I mean, I'm definitely going to go to the Colorado Springs one, whether I'm a vendor or not, to be determined. But I'm definitely going to go down there and be there. That one is... Ooh, it's coming up in October. I'll have the date below, but we'll have lists for all of their upcoming events because they go all over the country.
They do.
I mean, as you guys have heard, because you guys have been talking about all the shows you do. So
California, New England, Florida. I think upcoming upcoming shows are Ohio and Colorado.
I saw one.
I think
Ohio
is
California.
at the end of October. I can't remember. But yeah, it's all online. In the link below. Find out where the tour schedule is.
Yes. So, so great. I love, we talk a lot on Gothic Heart about accessibility, self-acceptance, being authentic to yourself, and you guys have that in spades. And I love to be able to show that to our listeners or people who are still, from being grown up or their parents scoffing at them or saying they shouldn't do that or that's not a real career or whatever, right? Like hoping they can come to terms with being themselves sooner than it took me or whoever else that it might
Of
be. So
course. Yeah.
you guys absolutely brought that in spades, and I'm so excited for our
Yeah.
listeners to be able to do that. And I'm releasing, will be for everybody, releasing this episode in plenty of time. Usually I'm like, wait, I've got lots of weeks, but plenty of time for the Colorado show and any of the dates that we talked about here. So any questions, everything will be in the links below. But I highly encourage you to, I know, listeners, I know that there's something you heard today that you did not know about before. I learned so many things, whether it's the types of shows that they do with the VR and all of, no matter what it was. So share it with someone who's going to love it too. Listen to A Cross Between, follow the Gothic Heart, because we're always going to have things like that. That's how artists, we get to be seen. Like Colby was talking about, how we just want our art to be seen. We want to be able to reach somebody. So that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah,
so
we just like to be able to bring that experience. And thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
and for the listeners, just a shameless A Cross Between on Spotify. Go and check it out. Add us to your playlist. Put it in your rotation.
Yeah. For sure.
We've got a bunch of different tracks on there. Like, hey, maybe like something a little softer, but still has a dark vibe. Bittersweet Nothing. Check it out.
Yeah.
On Spotify.
And I guess the one thing I want to say is that, at the end of the day, doing music with Colby and doing A Cross Between, I think our ultimate mission statement is we don't really care who shows up to our shows. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do in your normal life, and what you identify as or anything like that. We are very accepting, and we want everyone that comes to our shows and anyone that goes to even like the Grimoire shows, everyone from any walk of life is accepted, and there's no disrespect or anything like that. Everyone's respected and everyone's welcome.
That is a beautiful, wonderful note that we can end on. So thank you guys again. And listeners, we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The signs were there, but I guess I told myself they weren't. It was the second time around. Thought things would be different. I didn't listen to anybody else. Why would I need to? They were wrong for me before. Why would they be right now? I told myself I had no reason to believe them. They were just telling me what I wanted to hear. Maybe I was wrong.